Cut that dang music. What's up, brothers? All right, I'm back from vacation. I took a trip to Clearwater Beach. Listen, man, I mean, I know you guys know this, but like the critical importance of separating from your life, especially separating from the grind of life, you know, like the work grind of life, seeing something different and being somewhere different and having like a good time where you sort of jettison your normal standards. Although we definitely like ate well and we ran every morning. And I don't think I put on a ton of fat, just a little bit of extra body fat, but that you get away from life, you know, it's so important to do that. And it just rejuvenates you, you know, like I'll get in stints where I'm just hustling, doing business stuff. And like me and Jill just on the grind, doing our thing, growing our financial status and moving into the future and all this stuff. But it's like, you then got to enjoy it. You got to take a break. So I was in Florida for 7 days. Here's a couple pics. It's me and Jill on the beach. Clearwater Beach is, by the way, like the best beach I've ever been to. It's actually the best place in Florida that I've ever been to. And I've been to Daytona, Orlando. I've been to Miami. I've been to Newport Richie. Clearwater's just honestly been the best. So I'll just scroll through a couple pics here of our trip. There's honestly like 50. We were doing margaritas at noon. That was fun. That was truly fun. I tried to stay as lean as possible. I worked out every day. I did push-ups, crunches. There was a gym at the place, but they always generally pretty much suck. But we ran every morning. And it was pretty awesome. We had a killer deck that was like literally on the Gulf. We're at this place called the Opal Sands, and on the Opal Sands, that's my honey. You're literally looking at the Gulf. The Gulf of Mexico or America is like within 20 feet or something, like of our room, of our deck outside. It's just Gulf. It's the closest to the ocean like hotel I've ever seen and ever been at, and it was fucking awesome. Got a good tan, both of us, and we're back in action, brothers. All right, let's talk about a couple things. So we'll get to questions in a sec. I see some of you have them, so I'm excited about that. We'll get to those soon. Good morning, brother. I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Doing well. Quickly, though, let's discuss the notion of HCG and reducing it. Like, say you've been on 100 IU, even like 200 IU or 250 every other day. You kind of get like a lot of HCG in those cases. And you just reduce it to something like 70 to 80 IU. And then suddenly, like, you've been on a TRT protocol where you have enough DHT. Estrogen's been like over range, but not substantially. And then you reduce your HCG to like 80 IU a day. And then your erections come back full fucking force, man. What's happening there? Well, there are a lot of people that contend that HCG is doing different stuff other than just mimicking luteinizing hormone. And it is. Yeah, it does. It does do different stuff. Are those things negatively consequential to erections? The only one that I can truly see is, let's start from the least likely, increase progesterone. Right? HCG is not going to increase your progesterone to any meaningful level. But secondly, increase estradiol. And that is the real culprit of erectile difficulties with HCG. If, as I've always said, if you do it the reverse way to what I'm about to say, which is, you reduce your testosterone dose enough, or you take an AI, you work that however you work it, you can tolerate HCG. I've tolerated as much as 330 IU of HCG a day. It's like 20-something hundred. It's like 2,400 IU a week. So I've proven it that HCG doesn't like induce erectile difficulties, right? And I've like the best erections ever on that protocol. It was 5 clicks of cream though, transcranial cream, 100 milligrams a day, and then 40 milligram injection of cypionate once a week. So like that worked incredibly, but like on the reverse end, if you're having a hard time dialing in erections and you have HCG in your protocol, try to just see what the minimum effective dose of HCG is for you. You might find that you can get away with like 90 IU a day. It's 560 IU a week, is it? If my math is right? I haven't done 9 times 7 since I was like 12, so I don't remember. And you find that it's enough HCG, but it's not producing that estrogen substrate, that estrogenic substrate, to where it's inhibiting the DHT-mediated, nitric oxide-mediated erections. This happens for guys, even on reasonable protocols. They're dosing 150 IU of HCG every day. And instead of that, they reduce the dose to like 80 IU, and then they get the sexual function back. Now, you run the risk, of course, of either dropping estradiol too low. So you have to find your sweet spot, because then sensation goes south when estradiol goes too low. And libido will go south when estradiol goes too low. So it's almost smart in some cases to use HCG as the dial-in lever. Most people without HCG, I'll make the statement, can take high doses of test. You can dose 150, even 175 milligrams of a long ester per week. And if you have no HCG, as long as you're not a crazy aromatizer, you're actually going to fall at like 29 or 30 or 25. I mean, at 210 a week sub-Q, daily 30 milligram injections, no HCG, I was at 35 picograms per milliliter estradiol. So you reduce that to 175, you're going to be fine. Now, for the sensation in the, specifically the sensation and libido part, well, then it's like you use HCG in small little doses to get that, just like you dial up, because you're taking the estrogen up just a little bit. Right. And of course, you want good load size and functional testicles and all that stuff. So just something to think about, man. I think people are going to find if they're having trouble dialing in, you just reduce the HCG dose to like some low amount, like 70 IU a day. And then you micro adjust from there. You'll get the erections back for sure. So long as estrogen is like in your range, then you micro adjust potentially upward on the HCG to get the libido and the sensation where you want it to be. It's just one of the many strategies, brother. All right, let's get to discussing protocols and stuff. So the question at hand is, please help with the best protocol to penis rehab, a victim of post-finasteride syndrome, since way over a year I've not taken finasteride since. Okay, so I think that there's a general misconception here. Not all people that have taken finasteride need any degree of penile rehab. What you need the most is a large milieu of DHT in the system consistently, and you really can only do that with cream. People that have PFS do dial in on cypionate inundate, just like first or second try, if the dose is right and they're considering the nature of the problem, which is that you over aromatize and under convert to DHT, or at least your body had been in that state for a long time, and it's caused atrophy of erections and reduction of dopamine binding in the hypothalamus and reduction of your libido and all these kinds of things. So generally, though, you need to get the DHT pretty sky high, and it needs to be consistently sky high. That needs to be the dominant sex hormone over estradiol, but you need enough estrogen to support libido. That's why the ranges that I've always given, they apply to PFS people too. Some of them have to be around 20, but 20 to 35. 20 to 35 with enough DHT. Now, it's usually better if you don't want to waste time going through long esters to just use testosterone cream. Start with the 100 milligram stuff, 5 clicks a day on the scrotum, go from there. A little bit of HCG. And in these cases, you don't want to push estrogen over. So you should really be starting like 50 IU, 70 IU HCG a day. If you really want to have the best shot to first get success in this context. But regarding penile rehab, through what you should do is through the time that you are optimizing hormones, you should use a penis pump on medium gauge for 10 minutes twice a day. And you should take 10 milligrams Cialis every day if you can tolerate it. Some people cannot, and there's going to be side effects that are pretty brutal, like nasal congestion, lower back pain, leg pain. It's going to lower your blood pressure too much. You got to be careful with that stuff. But, that's really the penile rehab protocol, honestly. I mean, there's nothing else that you can do aside from rubbing DHT oil on the junk itself, on the shaft, which is going to locally bind to androgen receptors with a high affinity for a long time, as DHT does, and optimize erectile quality. But you've got to be careful, because even though you need DHT so much, you could still, with too much DHT, not fix your problem. Because you also need estrogen balance too. And you guys especially need functional testicles. So it's not as simple as just, executing a penile rehab protocol. You must have the hormones straight too. You need to get your hormones straight. You need lots of DHT and controlled estrogen. Okay, Hector, man, I fear for your beautiful hair while on TRT. What are you doing about that? Why? Why are you guys so concerned about my fucking hair? Jesus Christ, dude. It's great. Look at it. I have healthy hair. Why are you fearing for my hair? Let me just make something clear to people. If you got the best erections of your life, you're like older, and like most of the people that watch this, some of the people are in their 20s, but a good degree of people that watch this channel are like, 30, mid 30s to like mid 50s. And you've got insane erections. You're anabolic as hell. You feel incredible. Your libido is like when you were in your 20s, but you're losing a little bit of hair, but yet you're an absolute stoic masculine beast. That's TRT, dude. And steroid cycles, fry your hair more. Proviron fry your hair more. More DHT-centered stuff fries your hair more. And I'm on a very heavy DHT protocol now. My hair is largely fine. Now, would it be thicker and, Yeah, generally thick, because I've always had the same hairline. Go back to when I was 26. I'm on the web at 26 years old with the exact same hairline. So my hairline actually hasn't changed. It just, I had long hair at one point, so it looked different. But, you got to make a choice. Yeah. Men on TRT, a lot of guys, dude, I have good genes, so I'm lucky. A lot of guys just go on TRT and that ship sails, bro. They lose their hair. They lose it. But then they end up bald, looking awesome, looking jacked, with a good beard, and if their genes did them well in terms of facial features and whatever, they look super attractive dudes, and they get the baddest chicks, bro. I've seen some pretty badass fucking girls with bald muscular guys, bro. So nothing to fear, man. Yeah, my hair's fine. For me, it's like oscillating back and forth between heavy scrotum and then a split between shoulder or forearm and scrotum. Because when it's heavy scrotum consistently with the cream, then the hair loss can become apparent enough to where I'm like, I want to do something. And then I just switch for a month, Everything works like sexual function wise great for 2-3 weeks. And then it might start to go south a little bit, but I'll milk that. And then go back to scrotal heavy, cream. That's what I just did, right? Because I had cycled out of strictly scrotum onto forearm scrotum split because of some diffuse hair thinning. And then I just went back. I changed my protocol. I'll get to that maybe this week, but I'm actually dosing more testosterone now, but managing everything to where estrogen is in range and feels good for me. And I feel like a fucking animal, man. Nice tan, brother. Finally made it down to Florida. Great. Dude, just anywhere. The thing about Florida is that, first of all, like, it's summer all the time. Now, depending on where you go, like if you're on the east side of the peninsula, Palm Beach or below, it's warm in January. It's 70 degrees in January, bro. You go to Key West, it's like summer all the time. But that's a very expensive place to be. Over on the west side of the peninsula where we were, we went March 20th. You know where it was in Pittsburgh? 37 degrees. When we came home yesterday, 30-something degrees. We got off the plane. We went outside. Like, dude, oh my God. Ugh. But there, 70 and sunny, bro. 70 and sunny. This is us on the beach in Clearwater. That's us on a rooftop restaurant. And this is what we were doing the whole time. It was beautiful. Florida is an entirely different universe, man. You're closer to the equator. The sun is closer to you. The weather is just great, aside from when they get hurricanes. So it's a balance, one of those things. Thoughts on dosing cream twice a day, experiencing trough symptoms midday, especially if I dose too early? Well, that would indicate one thing. It would indicate that your morning dose is too little for you. Yeah, it's too little testosterone. However, sometimes people need that in order to dial in erections specifically. So they need kind of a lower end dose of cream to make sure that the estrogen doesn't come up and cause erectile difficulties. In these cases, or here's another case that I've seen pretty often. People need to be right on the borderline of estrogen, where like above which it starts to cause erectile function problems, and then below which it starts to cause the low yeast problems, like lack of water retention. It's like diuresis all day and can't hold any liquids. You pee more than you consume. I've been there before, and it's really weird. It's estrogen's effect on osmolality and arginine vasopressin, things like that. Diuretic hormones, or I should say antidiuretic hormone. So, but like right on that line is where you're going to feel great. And so you might need to hover this line a little bit. But so, you would need to, this is a case where yes, midday dosing or like 3 p.m. dosing could work. If you're dosing cream in the morning, and then it's like the moment you start troughing and feeling the symptoms would be the moment to start putting on a little bit more cream. And if I were you, I would put that cream on the shoulders in the secondary part of the day and not the scrotum, because you're going to get more testosterone. And what you're likely lacking here is the estradiol. You can go on cream and end up at like way too low estrogen, man. I've seen this fucking shit before. So that does make sense. It does make sense to do that. You're right on the borderline where it's, too low and you have low E symptoms and it's just not enough of everything. And then you just infuse a little bit of test midday with cream on the shoulders. That is a great idea and it does work. I've done it before. I mean, you know, I'm almost definitely going to transition into something like that. Going to Florida, it's like I didn't want to bring the Cypionate. I've been injecting that once a week, so I just kind of increased the dose of the cream. I'm running 6 on the scrotum of 100 milligrams, which is 3 of 200 milligrams, and then an additional 2 clicks on the shoulders at like 3 or 4 p.m. Because it's a lot of DHT. It's a kind of blocks estrogen. It kind of keeps me in the right balance. And I don't know, erections. It's just, you know, you can manipulate your protocol in any way you can that makes sense for you. I don't have a whole lot of experience with this, but I think it's probably good. A lot of people claim that there's, you know, good benefits from that. But I think MT2 is the pro erectile one. I don't think that you should be taking things to tan. I think get your ass to the tanning bed, you know, or in the summer go outside, you know. Yeah. This vacation for Jill and I, we burnt the first day, and then, you know, then we started using some sunscreen. Sunscreen itself is not the greatest thing. It can cause you to have fucking skin rashes and all kinds of things. But you know, we tanned our asses off, man. Not joshing around has PSSD. All right, switch from methate to cream. Okay, cool. Hey, that's fine. 3 clicks is fine. That's fine with it. You can get away with the 200 milligrams if it's 3 clicks. And you might even be able to tolerate a 4th click, but when you trough, which would be 4 or 5 p.m., if you apply in the morning at 8 a.m. Then you're troughing, you throw another click on, you're at 4 total, then you got tons of anabolism and you're not over in estradiol. No estradiol results yet. Total T was 625, DHT 293. Okay, so you want to test that. It should be a little higher than 625. You know, my peak is about 900, 925 total testosterone. My DHT is fucking sky high, kind of close to where you're at there. So, you know, get the estradiol after 3 hours. Better yet, get it after like 6 hours and then get it again before you apply. So you see within the effect duration window, what is the range of estrogen that your body is at, that you're making from this testosterone. But you have room to work here. I don't know where sexual function is and whatever, and I don't see HCG in your protocol, so you're going to need that. Your testes need to make neurosteroids, and they need to have their own balance of test, estradiol, DHT, in order to revive sexual dysfunction in almost all cases. The only way you can get around that is really hyper-managing estrogen, like controlling estrogen, because estrogen is really what is driving the sensation and the libido part of it, assuming you have enough of the other components like DHT, which drive those things too. But too low estrogen, you won't have those things. So, you know, you got to kind of use estrogen, kind of increase it as long as it's not messing with erections to have sensation and libido if you have enough DHT, which you do here in this case. But I think 3 pumps is fine, especially if, you know, 3 hours later, you're only at 625. This is probably a little too little. You might be kind of an under-responder to test cream, which, you know, happens to people. But look at your estrogen number, see where it is. It's almost definitely in range, but if it's over, you have a bigger problem. You're still over aromatizing. And the only way to prevent that is to reduce your body fat substantially and to continue taking DHT for a long time until you upregulate the 5-AR enzyme function. So on that, felt underpowered, went to 4 clicks and added 125 HCG. Okay, got it. How long do you hold a protocol to find out if it's right? Well, you want to look at the bloods first and make an assessment. And with cream, you're looking at 2 to 3 weeks to be on it once you've gotten bloods to let things settle. It's not just about what the bloods are telling you. It's also about the tissue level mechanics of, you know, DHT goes and optimizes the thin lining of your blood vessels in your penis, right? And it optimizes the smooth muscle cells. It, in this case, is probably reducing some fat deposits and collagen deposition that was there induced by lack of DHT. So it's got to do some work. Each time you change a cream protocol, you should wait 3 weeks before changing it again. You know, in most cases, sometimes you can tell it's going in the wrong direction because, you know, you were at 28 estradiol in the previous one, and then you increased your total dose of cream and you started putting some on the shoulders instead of the scrotum, and now you have ED, well, then it's time to dial back because you've went too far up with estrogen. So, yeah, keep forfeit out. What you're going to find is that as long as you dial the HCG lever in, you can use that to control estrogen. You can use HCG to control estrogen, right? You just lower it to lower the estrogen. Some guys can dose 70 IU a day of HCG. Seriously, 50 IU a day. You can do that. And that's what I would do if I were you. Don't ever use MT1 says, let me fix that, doc. Use MT2 only. Yeah, MT2 is the one that we've got the most research behind, and it's the stuff that we generally the biohacking community uses. All right. How long to drop test E out when switching to test prop? Currently doing 40 milligrams Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Well, that's not going to take a whole lot of time to get out of your blood. I mean, 4 weeks is what you're really looking at. There'd be trace elements of it at 5 and 6 weeks out, but it's really not a huge deal. If I were you, what I would do is it's going to take you 4 weeks anyway to dial in because that NFA's going to have to leave your system. If you really want to get ahead of it, do nothing for a week and then start prop, right? So you get a head start on the reduction of the test in your blood. You're welcome, brother. How long after applying Introductory will it change DHT levels in the blood? Immediately? Yeah, that day. Your DHT levels will increase the day of putting Introductory on the testicles or the shaft or wherever. Yep, it works immediately, man. I mean, yeah, dude, you're putting pure DHT. That stuff's like 2.5% DHT. You're putting pure DHT on your body. If you put that on the scrotum, where it's like it's the most absorbable site for transdermal hormones on the male body, you're just going to get you're going to get a good bit of DHT. Now, 2.5 is actually a great place to start. And Introductory is honestly, especially if you don't want to have to go through like the rigmarole of getting the 20% cream and then diluting it to your preferred concentration. I prefer a milligram a drop because you can dial it in a lot tighter that way. Then Introductory is really good. Yeah, Introductory is really good. And you got to be careful because you can over DHT yourself to the point where you're blocking estrogen signaling in the penis, and then you're not going to have libido and sensation. Maybe erectile dysfunction, maybe not. It really all depends on the balance. But it changes it immediately. Yeah. I still have a good bit of Introductory. I just don't use it because I've got 1 milligram of DHT per drop DHT oil. And that stuff is about as surgical as it gets, man. About as surgical as it gets, brother. For those of you just jumping in, I'm back from vacation. Me and Jill went to Clearwater Beach for the last 7 days. And yeah, I just got to say, I don't know what you guys are all working for in life, but, entrepreneurs, we work for freedom. You know what I mean? The freedom to be able to get up and do this whenever we want, and we're at that point now in our lives, and it's nice to get away and separate from normal life. Like, we have to be doing different things, like everybody. Novelty. We've got to see different things and do different stuff and have different experiences and be busy. Like Jill's parents, as an example, they're in their mid-70s. They're doing shit every day. They live in Florida. We saw them when we were down there. They live just outside of Clearwater in one of those other towns. And they're busy all the time, doing new shit. Then they come back to Pittsburgh. They snowbird. When it's winter in Pittsburgh, they go to Florida and their house in Florida. And then, when it's summer in Florida, they come to Pittsburgh. Florida's really, really hot in the summer. It's like unbearable. So you got to go and do new things, man. And, this was truly for us. We needed this. We're both productive people. All we do throughout the course of like the work day and is we're just super productive people, even on weekends for me and weekends for her. That's just who we are. So you burn yourself out doing that. You need a break. So we went to Clearwater Beach in Florida, and we did the very best we could to, Jill doesn't ever, I don't know, that woman just can't gain weight. She's just like, looks fucking phenomenal no matter what. So what I had to be really careful to not become a fatty. And I did all right. My physique is, kind of off-season physique right now, hanging out. Still going to the gym and all that. Took a big break. That was nice. And now we're back in action. Just an experience to share. I was on cream for a while. Too much DHT conversion for me. Even on shoulders, 2 clicks would get me 150, and I couldn't sleep. That would have taken time to balance. Yeah, 150 nanograms per deciliter DHT shouldn't make you not able to sleep. I mean, I know people at 350, 400 sleeping great. So it's just so individual, man. It's like, what is driving your inability to sleep otherwise? Something to think about. But it is a lot of DHT conversion. So it's good for some people and not the best, but potentially for others. It's like, if you don't really have a necessity for like lots of DHT, and I don't know what that's driven by. I mean, some long-standing hypogonadal, some PFS, like taking hair loss drugs and blocking DHT, some PSSD, taking SSRIs. But some men are just, I don't know, they're just fucking hyper-masculinized at the point where they run on DHT and it's what makes them feel good, and they need high DHT, but some people don't. Some people don't. Maybe you're converting very efficiently to DHT with like long esters or something, and you don't need to do cream. Not everybody needs to do cream, but it's pretty awesome. Arnold, DHEA, 857, test 1183, free test 177, estrogen less than 30, no HCG on 40 units, sip twice a week. Can I add DHT to bring in the wow factor you talk about? Brother, I assume this is nanograms per deciliter and 30 picograms per milliliter, 40 units of cypionate. So 80 milligrams twice a week, 160 milligrams a week. Be specific with the doses here, not the units. We don't talk about testosterone in units. But no, DHT wouldn't necessarily do this. Probably HCG would fix your protocol. Yeah, I would start low so that you don't take that estrogen like above your range and you start having erectile difficulties. But yeah, HCG is probably what's going to fix it. I don't know where your DHT is though, so you'd have to look at that. Tesmarelin, no. PT141, yeah. Retrotrutide. I don't. If someone could explain the mechanism of retrotrutide, I don't know what it is. I know it's fat burning. I might look into it. Sermorelin, I've got my girl has experience with, and she liked it, man. She fucking ate she was hungry a lot, and she couldn't, she could eat a ton and not put on weight, so it was amazing, and she felt more energy too. So she's not on it anymore. PT141, it's just a little unreliable. Yeah. Comes with side effects like nausea and facial flushing that kind of happen right away after taking it or when it starts to kick in. And you got to dose it and pay close attention and dial in, first of all, what dose you need, and secondly, when the sexual function kicks in. So then you can plan sex around it or plan going out if you're a single male around that. And it's not the same amount of time each time. Like sometimes it kicks in at 2 hours, and then it kicks in 8 hours later. It's just, I don't like that about it. Do you believe in improving body fat levels, gut health, and thyroid make or break a TRT protocol? No, they don't. No, that doesn't make or break a TRT protocol. What it does is aid you. Like if you're overweight, you will make marginally less estradiol if you lose weight. And it'll be noticeable enough to potentially put you right in the zone. Same thing with optimizing thyroid hormones. There are, I've never really seen hypothyroidism make someone have more estrogen. Hypothyroidism is more associated with increases in prolactin in the medical journals. But there's a degree to which proper thyroid hormones regulate aromatase enzyme activity. It's just not, it's not the end all. You need to still manage estrogen with your protocol or with your whatever. But, doing all these things are smart. Body fat levels need to be down, gut health. Yeah. That does matter. Gut health matters. Thyroid hormones matter. All of it matters. I cured PSSD 6 years ago. Wow. Love that, brother. Peace and love, my man. What's the most 20% DHT you've seen needed for optimal sexual function? Any clients need no. That's a lot. No. Most people need a milligram every day or every other day on top of a TRT protocol, and some people don't need it at all. Yeah, folks do not need to run loads of DHT to get proper sexual function. Yeah. Even in cases where you've got PFS or PSSD, you just need enough of it. That shit right there, the 20% stuff, is the most potent DHT that anyone could ever get like on the market. It's the most potent DHT like we've even ever heard of. It's so strong and it's so much DHT. Like you'll notice hair loss like right away if you're dosing it too much. How to counteract or balance excess of DHT beyond the use of 5-alpha reductase inhibitors? There really isn't one. Yeah, there isn't one. I mean, it just, if hair loss is the problem, you got to derma roll and, take high dose tocotrienols every day and maybe intermittently dose some TB500, which can help your hair grow. In the end, though, like if your genes dictate that like even moderate levels of DHT are causing you significant hair loss, there's really nothing you can do except for embrace it, embrace it. I say that being having pretty good genes, and I'm lucky. I was born with a full head of hair. My grandfather, before he died, had a full head of hair. I'll have a full head of hair for the rest of my life, almost definitely. So, I don't feel that pain, but I still can respond to too much DHT where my hair thins. Have you ever run test E or C and prop together? Yeah. Yes, I have. And those were convoluted protocols. They worked, but they're not the best. Like I'd much rather, if I'm doing hybrid, run cream and cypionate or cream and prop, because it takes a lot less time to dial in, because, these are shorter esters. They leave your body quicker. They're faster acting. So you don't have to wait, 6 to 8 weeks to realize like where you are. And you got to be careful not to change anything in between, because it still may take 2 weeks for you to get to your ultimate endpoint on the protocol. That's why I'm just like, I really don't like long esters, except for to use them as a hybrid, but as the add-on hybrid. Say you're running like 3 clicks of 200 milligram cream a day, or 5 clicks or 6 clicks of the 100 milligram cream a day, and then you just add 40, 50 milligram cypionate once a week. That's where it makes the most sense. Big fan of prop. Thinking of daily low dose test E with a little bit of daily prop on top. I think that's okay as well. That will work. How would you personally tackle that? I think you should just give it a shot. You should do the test E in a dose that keeps your estrogen around 20, and then dose the prop in a way which will take it up to about 30 for like the day you inject it, or every 2 days that you inject it, and then back down to 20 and hover right in that range. That's what I would do. Any tips for the Clearwater area rooftop bar restaurants? My girlfriend and I are going there at the end of year. Wow, wonderful. If I were you, I would go to so the best view rooftop is called the View, VUE. It's called View 360, and it's on top of it's on top of a Marriott hotel. It is not the nicest, because Marriott is not like a luxury hotel, but it's a great view. And you go up there, there's a bar up on the roof, and people behind the bar and seats, and you just get to see both the bay side and the Gulf. You can see everything from up there. Yeah, we've got pictures from up there. In fact, I don't know. Yeah, so that's from up there. That's literally from the view, but you can't see the whole thing. I've got pictures of it, but yeah, View 360 would be one. The second one is right on the Gulf. It's in the Hiatus Hotel. Hiatus, just how it sounds. And they have a rooftop cantina. It's like a rooftop bar with food. And that's probably the second best one, because that view is strictly the Gulf. You're just looking at the Gulf. You're on top of the hotel looking at the Gulf. And then you want to check out both of the Jimmy's restaurants, Jimmy's Crow Nests and Jimmy's on the Den, Jimmy's on the something or other. You'll find them when you Google them. But those are the best ones. You could also go to the Hyatt Regency, which is another hotel right on the strip there that has its own rooftop thing that has pretty cool views. Have you seen DHT rise from a dime size amount of DHT? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It will go up there pretty quickly. Thoughts on boron? Inconsequential. don't really need it. Natties tend to mess with it, and it might, move hormone levels one way or the other. But for people on TRT, it's not doing much. Most common minimum effective dose, typically 100 IU a day. But again, if you need to reduce estrogen, because with HCG you're just having problems on even the minimum effective dose, you can try 50 to 70 IU a day. And it's gonna still keep the testicles functional. It's gonna. But how functional, you might have some shrinkage and a little bit less semen, like ejaculate volume and stuff. And so, you'll have to just sort of decide on what to do from there. Brothers, I'll be right back. Yeah, so like 50 to 70 IU is the answer. And you're just going to have to figure that out. Like if there are this subset of people, it's a small subset who can take no HCG and be fine, there are people that are definitely going to be able to get away with 50 to 70 IU a day. And clomiphene is not the rave. It is not. Yeah, that is among inexperienced natties. That's who talks about clomiphene as being good. It is a terrible drug. It has the propensity to mess up your vision, cause you blood clots, and it blocks estrogen receptors, which is stupid. It is a PCT drug only, meaning if you're trying to jumpstart your own test by manufacturing a state in which you force the hypothalamus pituitary to work normal in terms of gonadotropin secretion, that's the only situation in which it makes sense. Thoughts on P? You mean phenylethylamine? I think it's too strong of an inducer of noradrenaline that you're probably going to feel very terrible taking it. But some people swear by it. Some people take it. It's like it feels like Adderall. It all depends on what your brain ends up doing with it. What stack makes me shoot bigger loads? Well, there's no stack for that, and that's too general of a question, my man. Boys, I don't even know if I have any of that stuff on here. Look, everything that I've ever talked about on the channel, but specifically what I've learned regarding dialing people in, it's my job to dial people in. People pay us a good bit of money to work with them over the course of a 3-month period or a 6-month period to get them TRT protocols that last for the rest of their lives, but specifically fix sexual function. Guys will come to me with sexual dysfunction for 3 years, and they've been on TRT for 3 years or longer, and they have erection problems because they're listening to the crap on the internet. TRT is not necessarily easy. It's all broken down to mastering libido and erections on TRT, the sexual function playbook. However, if you'd like to just hire me for coaching, that's the best way to save time. Yeah, that's the best way to not waste time. Just bring me on board. This is all I do during the day. Truly, from 9 in the morning until about 5 p.m., it's content, and it's dealing with people's protocols and situating their hormone balance where the ratios of DHT and estrogen are right for them, and they've got the perfect protocol. Make no mistake, with TRT, because now your body's not managing your DHT, your estrogen, the intratesticular environment, you're managing it. You have to craft, therefore, the perfect protocol. That's what I'm good at doing with people and coaching. You can hire me at underminutelivecortex.com. The links are down in the description to book me. Once you book, we're on the fact-finding call as soon as that day or the next day, and then we begin. There's no waiting period. We're just getting to work. Any other questions, boys? If you got them, ask them. I hope you guys have had a good weekend so far. I know that here in cloudy, gloomy, cold Pittsburgh, we're just ready for summer. And thankfully, we timed our vacation perfectly so that we're back and it's basically April, so we'll have some rain, but we'll have some 70-degree days. We'll have some 50-degree days. Might even have some 40-degree days in April, which is crazy, but that's just Pittsburgh for you. And then, though, it just shifts right to summer. So we're excited for that because it's this is why people snowbird or during the winter of in their Northeast or Chicago or wherever they live in Florida, because winters are not fun. Seasonal depression is real, and largely it happens because you can't go outside and get sun and do things and wear sandals and go to sit outside at restaurants and stuff. So we're just really excited for this season because we're going to do a lot of crazy cool stuff. Vacation still, but Pittsburgh is a wonderful place to be in the summer. There's a lot to do. There's endless places to walk. There's endless places to go and sit outside. There's water here. It's just really, really good. So we can't wait. All right, let's look at this one. Jesse James is taking 80 milligrams of testosterone Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. So you're taking 240 a week? Is that what I'm reading? Can't get estrogen above 17 and pee all the time. Drop is 600. Estradiol is 20. You're taking 80 milligrams of enanthate Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday? Or are you taking 80 a week, so you're doing 20, 40, or 25, 75, or 26? I don't understand what you're saying here, man. Because if you're doing that, then yeah, you're going to pee all the time because estrogen is too low and androgens are too low. Estrogen via arginine vasopressin, changing your osmolality, really the AVP set point, the set point at which, you retain water. If the estrogen is higher, that set point is different for AVP. So it's like if the estrogen is a little higher, you're not going to start reducing arginine vasopressin production. If it's lower, you're going to start reducing your production of it, and you're going to be in diuresis all the time, which is where you are. At the same time, androgens, probably via aquaporins in your kidney, androgens make you retain water too. And they also have an effect on vasopressin and optimize the renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system as well to make you retain water. So it's both of those things, but ultimately, if estrogen cannot get above 17, you're peeing all the time. It's just you've got to get estradiol 30, and that will stop. I go into diuresis when estrogen was too low. When I ran the 70 milligram a week experiment of 10 milligrams a day, this is 4 years ago, just to see. And my anabolism was fucking terrible. I was a sieve, and I peed so much out, and it couldn't replenish it because I just pee again. Then I started feeling really dehydrated and really fucked up. So it's not worth it, man. So if that's 80 milligrams total a week, it's too low of a dose, man. I can't even guide you on what to do here except for increase the dose if that's the case. Get the estrogen to 30. Get your DHT 55 or above, and you should be fine. Matthew, I ran 25 milligrams prop. Yeah. Yes. Right. Yeah. That works great for me. It's just, I'm not anabolic. I'm not that anabolic. 30. So you're on 30 of prop daily with 100 IU of HCG and a microdose of Arimidex. The test E was just to bring up the trough a little. I don't see test E in there. Well, if that's working for you, great. Thank you. You've helped me get everything dialed in. Switch to 300 milligrams sip a week. Nice. Look at that. Test P. From that to test P60 every other day with 25 milligrams of Aromacin. What is that? Every other day as well? 500 IU HCG Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Libido dialed in. Estrogen at 41. Free T 1019. Total 378. Holy fuck. Hey, wonderful, bro. I like prop for that reason. And it's could you run 3,000 nanograms per deciliter total test forever? It does depend on the ester, because if you're not staying there, you're not really getting the negative health consequences of that much testosterone because you trough. So I bet you trough pretty good on that second day. You dose your 60 milligrams, you peak, and then you start troughing. You might be at like 1500 or whatever. I think that's great. Just monitor your lipids and your health, because that's quite a high level of testosterone to be at. But if you're dialed in, you're dialed in. You transitioned from nootropics and neurotransmitters being the main focus to hormones. Do you feel the androgens are providing nootropic benefit? Yeah, essentially, I don't take nootropics anymore. Don't need to. Yeah, I just don't need to. At the same time, a lot of them, they cause a degree of tolerance. So it's like the cholinergic ones, especially. I mean, you can't just keep taking them. Your brain is going to change its response to them eventually. So that's kind of where we're at. Doc won't let me go higher. As a matter of fact, it's 51. Yeah, it's 80 total a week. Okay, so you're not really, you have a problem with hematocrit in this case. This is the guy that's on 80 milligrams total a week and peeing his brains out because estrogen is too low and androgens are ultimately a little too low. But the hematocrit is 51. You're probably going to want to dose more, but split it up into more frequent injections so that the hematocrit doesn't go that high. But in these cases, your best bet is just to go on proper cream so that you have enough of a trough so that you can't continue to make red blood cells. You have a trough. That's what I would do if I were you. Seriously, switch to 10 milligrams test prop, 1-click cream daily. On that, if you're coming from a long ester, wait 4 or 5 weeks to measure the bloods, because that long ester, if it's still in your system, is going to skew the result here. If you're switching from a fast acting to just cream or just prop, you can test the bloods at week 3 here. But you have to see where this goes. Test it at peak and trough. Test it as long as Quest and LabCorp are open, so as late as they're open, and then test the next morning before you apply or inject testosterone. And then you can see, where you are within the effect duration window. What's the range? On the trough, are you at 22 estradiol? At peak, you're at 45. At trough, are you at 12 estradiol? And at peak, you're at 25. Now, these are useful metrics to dial in further from there. Yeah. Nope, don't sell the Cortex stack. Torque is still there, but I think it's just inaccessible on the website at the moment. We're going to eventually get to putting it back up, but not something I've been really focused on lately. All right, boys, I'm going to end the stream. Great questions. I am officially now back from my trip, and I'll be doing content all this week. I had some scheduled content that launched last week just to keep the channel afloat while I was gone. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. We just did a big breakdown on Cialis and TRT and where it's useful, where it's not, and what your dose that you need to get erections with Cialis on TRT is telling you about your TRT protocol. This is a very important video for people that take Cialis and they kind of rely on it for rigidity and stuff. Listen, if you're dialed in, you need no Cialis. Yeah, I haven't ran the 5 milligrams a day for like 2 months. Fucking hard as a rock, dude. When the time comes, dialed in. DHT is enough Cialis. That's all the Cialis you'll ever need. So look forward to the content coming soon. Again, Mastering Libido and Erections. It's a digital downloadable guide. I mean, this is a playbook for men on TRT with every ester, but importantly, it talks about my perspective that I've developed over 7 years in coaching people on TRT and how to dial in sexual function on any ester, what to do in any situation. Long as you have that framework, you can dial in anything literally. You could dial in high dose tests with Masteron and Proviron if you wanted to. If you have the right framework, you can dial anything in. Get it. It's down in the description and at livecortex.com. Book me for coaching if you need to. I am back in action and have slots open. There's a 30% discount code for 3 and 6 months in the description of this video if you'd like to bring me on board to fix sexual function problems and dial you in on TRT. Otherwise, boys, kick ass, rock on. I'll talk to you this week. Happy spring-ish. Come on. Soon, please. We're tired of the cold. God. All right, brothers. Peace.